In the first place, we took a small canoe and crossed the river till we came to a plantation owned by a man named Travis. He had a large sailboat that we desired to capture, but we did not know how we should accomplish it, as they took a great deal of pains generally to haul her up, lock her up, and put the sails and oars in the barn. As it was the Sabbath day, the young folks had been sailing about the river, and instead of securing her as they usually did, they left her anchored in the stream with the sails and oars all in the boat. This was very fortunate for us, for the house was very near to the shore. Besides, they had very savage dogs there. So it would have been a very difficult matter for us to attempt to capture the boat, sails, and oars if they had been where they were generally kept. So all we had to do was to run our canoe alongside the boat and get on board. It was quite calm before we started, but as soon as we got ready and the sails set, the wind began to rise, and all that night we had all the wind we could carry sail to. Lorenzo and myself, by keeping our oars in motion, outran everything that stayed on the water. By the next morning, we were a great distance from home. We sailed all day and night Monday, and until Tuesday night about 9 o'clock, when we landed just below Frenchtown, Maryland. We there hauled the boat up the best we could and fastened her, then took our bundles and started on foot. Zip, who had been a sailor from a boy, knew the country and understood where to go. He was afraid to go through Frenchtown, so we took a circuitous route until we came to the road that leads from Frenchtown to Newcastle. Here I became so exhausted that I was obliged to rest. We went into the woods, which were nearby, and lay down on the ground and slept for an hour or so. Then we started for Newcastle. I found I could not keep up with my companions, for they could walk much faster than myself, and hence got far ahead, and then would have to wait for me. I, being lame, was not able to keep up with them. At last, Zip said to me, "Lindsay, we shall have to leave you, for our enemies are after us, and if we wait for you, we shall all be taken, so it would be better for one to be taken than all three." So after he had advised me what course to take, they started, and in a few minutes left me out of sight. When I had lost sight of them, I sat down by the roadside and wept, prayed, and wished myself back where I first started. I thought it was all over with me forever. I thought while I would turn back as far as Frenchtown and give myself up to be captured. Then I thought that would not do. A voice spoke to me. "Not to make a fool of myself, you have got so far from home, about 250 miles. Keep on towards freedom, and if you are taken, let it be heading towards freedom." I then took fresh courage and pressed my way onward towards the north with anxious heart. Well, it was then 2 or 3 o'clock Wednesday morning, the 8th of May. I came to the portion of the road that had been cut through a very high hill, called the Deep Cut, which was in a curve, or which formed a curve. When I had got about midway of this curve, I heard a rumbling sound that seemed to me like thunder. It was very dark, and I was afraid that we were to have a storm. But this rumbling kept on and did not cease, as thunder does, until at last my hair on my head began to rise. I thought the world was coming to the end. I flew around and asked myself, "What is it?" At last it came so near to me it seemed as if I could feel the earth shake from under me, till at last the engine came around the curve. I got sight of the fire and the smoke. Said I, "It's the devil! It's the devil!" It was the first engine I had ever seen or heard of. I did not know there was anything of the kind in the world, and being in the night made it seem a great deal worse than it was. I thought my last days had come. I shook from head to foot as the monster came rushing on towards me. The bank was very steep near where I was standing. A voice says to me, "Fly up the bank." I made a desperate effort, and by the aid of the bushes and trees which I grasped, I reached the top of the bank where there was a fence. I rolled over the fence and fell to the ground, and the last words I remember saying were, "That the devil is about to burn me up. Farewell, farewell." After uttering these words, I fainted, or as I expressed it, I lost myself. Not know how long I lay there, but when I had recovered, or came to myself, the devil had gone. Oh, how my heart did throb. I thought the patrollers were after me on horseback. After I had gathered strength enough, I got up and sat there thinking what to do. I first thought I would go off to the woods somewhere and hide myself till the next night, and then pursue my journey onward. But then I thought that would not do, for my enemies who were pursuing me would overtake and capture me. So I made up my mind that I would not lose any more time than was necessary. Hence I crawled down the bank and started on with trembling steps, expecting every moment that that monster would be coming back to look for me. Thus, between hope and fear and doubt, I continued on foot till at last the day dawned, and the sun had just began to rise. When the sun had risen as high as the tops of the trees, the monster all at once was coming back to meet me. I said to myself, "It is no use to run. I had just as well stand and make the best of it," thinking I would make the best bargain that I could with His Majesty. Onward he came, with smoke and fire flying, and as he drew near to me, I exclaimed to myself, "Why, what a monster's head he has on to him! I am a goner." I looked again, saying to myself, "Look at the wagons he has tied to him." Thinks I, they are the wagons that he carries the souls to hell with. I looked through the windows to see if I could see any black people that he was carrying, but I did not see one. Nothing but white people. Then I thought it was not black people that he was after, but only the whites, and I did not care how many of them he took. He went by me like a flash. I expected every moment that he would stop and bid me come aboard, for I had been a great hand to abuse the old gentleman. When at home I used to preach against him, but he did not, so I thought that he was going so fast he could not stop. He was soon out of sight, and I, for the first time, took a long breath. I was very hungry, for I had not eaten anything much for 2 days. We came away in such a hurry that we did not have time to prepare much food. We took only some corn cake and a little bacon. I was almost starved to death. I became quite weak and looked around on the ground to see if I could find anything green that I could eat. I began to fail very fast. I thought I should die there on the road. All at once, I came to a house, and a voice seemed to say to me, "Go to that house and see if you can get something to eat." I said to myself, "There are white people that live there, and I shall be captured. They can but capture me, and if I stay away, I shall die." I went up to the door and rapped. A lady came to the door and looked at me with a smile upon her countenance as I spoke to her. I said to myself, "I do not mind you white people's smiles. I expect you think to make money off of me this morning." I asked her if she would give me something to eat. She said she had nothing cooked, but if I would come in, she would get me something. I thought to myself, I know what that means. You want me to come in order to capture me. But nevertheless, I went in, and she set a chair up to the fireplace and bade me sit down. Her husband sat there in one corner, and looking up said to me, "My man, you are traveling early this morning." I said, "Yes, I made an early start." I did not tell him I had been traveling all day and all night for 3 nights. And he asked me how far I was going. I told him I was going to Philadelphia, that I had some friends there whom I had not seen for some time, and I was going to visit them, and then return in a few weeks. Very soon his wife had my breakfast all ready of ham, eggs, and a meal cake, and put them on the table, and then asked me to sit down. I did so without waiting for a second invitation, and the first mouthful I took seemed to me as if it would go straight through me. I ate till I became alarmed, for I thought I would betray myself by my eating. I ate up most everything she put on the table. Then I got up and asked what I should pay for my breakfast. She said, 25 cents. I put my hand in my pocket and picked out a quarter. Giving it to her, I started on my journey, feeling like a new man. I walked on till about noon, at which time I reached Newcastle. The first one I saw was Lorenzo, who was one of the men who left me on the road. He came a little way out of the city to look for me, to see if I was anywhere in sight. We met and went into the city, found Zip, and once more we were together. The boat left there for Philadelphia twice a day. She had left in the morning before they had arrived, but she returned in the afternoon, only to start right off again the same afternoon. By the time the boat had returned, I was there, so we 3 all went on board. How we ever passed through Newcastle as we did without being detected is more than I can tell, for it was one of the worst slave towns in the country, and the law was such that no steamboat, or anything else, could take a colored person to Philadelphia without first proving his or her freedom. What makes it so astonishing to me is that we walked aboard right in sight of everybody, and no one spoke a word to us. We went to the captain's office and bought our tickets without a word being said to us. We arrived safely in Philadelphia that afternoon. There upon the wharf we separated, after bidding each other farewell. Lorenzo and Zip went on board a ship for Europe and went to sea. I started up the street, not knowing where I was going or what would become of me.